السيدات والسادة، نرحب بكم مجددا في مؤتمر سلاسل الإمداد والتوريد لعام 2017 ميلادية، وإلى حلقة النقاش الثالثة من أجندة اليوم الثاني، ومحورها حول المستودعات المستقبلية، النقل الصامت في سلسلة الإمداد. يشارك في الجلسة دكتور كنان عضو هيئة التدريس في قسم اللوجستيات والنقل الدولي بجامعة اسطنبول، الأستاذ عرفات إبراهيم مدير الخدمات اللوجستية كلاينت السعودية، أيضا الأستاذ عبد العزيز بن منصور السبيعي الرئيس التنفيذي بمشاريع التخزين والإمداد. يدير الجلسة سعادة الأستاذ عبد القادر مصطفى مستشار أعمال وخبير سلسلة الإمداد. سعادة الأستاذ مصطفى، الحديث إليك الآن لإدارة الجلسة.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for presenting me to the amazing people like you. I feel very pleased to have this opportunity to participate in such very important event about supply chain management in Saudi Arabia. Not only feel pleasure, but I feel proud to stand in front of people like you, leaders in this country, who are highly committed to develop the issues related to supply chain management in the region or in the country. Not only happy or proud, but I feel also excited because I met many of my students who are CSCA certified or CSM certified from the International Supply Chain Education Alliance, and they are here from Sekiko or different companies here and there. It is not the chance to speak here, but to synchronize our session here about the future warehouses. Slides. The slides. Yeah. Our topic today is about the future warehouses, assigned mode of transport. As the title suggests, it is not only reflecting on the current way of managing warehouses in Saudi Arabia, but we are also reflecting on the best practices of managing warehouses, which is considered as a higher level. And not only that, we'll be reflecting on the future warehouses and see how the impact of technologies in achieving the goals of the role of warehouses. Thank you very much. So, as you see here, that means we have 3 levels to cover here. Reflect on the current ways of managing warehouses, and also the best practices, and also what will be hidden in the future about the warehouses. Because the time frame is very critical, so the time flow of our sessions like that will be spending 5 minutes to present our topics and the agenda of this session, and we'll be having additional 5 minutes to present our speakers, while we have allocated only 3 minutes for 3 presentations. Try to imagine that means on average you have only 10 minutes for each one to present, and then at the end we have allocated 20 minutes for the discussion panel and taking some questions from you about the subject. So we're supposed to end. We started late a little bit, about 5 minutes, so we add something like 5 minutes, 10 minutes on the session. I gave an option here that you can send me your questions for the public by a message in this mobile, or we can also take your questions at the time we start the discussion panel. So our topic, as I mentioned here, the future warehouses are full of technologies, and applying these technologies will have tremendous impact in the way we manage warehouses. But basically here in this 1-hour session, we'll talk about the impact in increasing productivity of the warehouse, and also how to shorten delivery times and increase the speed of serving the clients, and also how we can add value to the overall supply chain operations and also the customer, either by having fast delivery or by reducing the cost in applying these technologies by enabling the business owners to offer lower prices to their customers. So we will be addressing this by 3 or 4 specific issues here will be discussed. The first one is to see the impact of the e-commerce in warehouses, or even not only warehouses, the impact of e-commerce in the overall supply chain operation. And also the other issue we'll be discussing here is the role of warehousing in supply chain management. We have Mr. Naif supposed to be with us here, but we mentioned something about the role of warehouse in supply chain management, and also reflect on the benefits of applying cross-docking and other technologies in achieving high level of efficiencies and effectiveness in supply chain, and also, generally speaking, how to leverage the overall supply chain performance either through technologies or cross-docking or other better infrastructure of the warehouse in the supply chain network. We'll be having only 2-minute video that will give a reflection on the future technologies that can be applied in warehouses, and after that, we'll start our presentations. The second session will be presenting the presentation we have about this. The first presentation will be from Dr. Ding. But before that, I have to invite the speakers. Doesn't click. Okay, let me present them. Yes, come to stage. We have Dr. Ding. He is Vice President of Logistics. And we have Mr. Subai, and we have Engineer Arafat. Just come to the stage until they solve this problem. Subai and Arafat. So the first presentation here will be by Dr. Ding, who will be speak about the impact of information technology in warehouses. Could you please, Dr. Ding? Yes.
Selamun Aleyküm. Dear guests, It's my pleasure to be here in this first Saudi Supply Chain Conference, and I want to thank to the organization committee to invite me to this important event at first. Now I will talk. Okay. I will talk. Not too much. About the pressures and challenges in today's supply chain at first, by several words, and then current technological solutions that are being used in the warehouse. Okay, thank you. Solutions used in the warehouse currently, and then there will be some 3 or 4 technologies that I want to mention. And then future solutions and research, those are not using actually in the warehouse right now, but those are developing or emerging technologies that I want to mention. And then finally, I will have several conclusion slides, and maybe we will have some futuristic or utopias at the end of the presentation. And let's start with the first one. Now, before those technologies, currently, all of you maybe are aware of that. Retailers are asking more frequent and smaller sized shipments from day to day. And this calls for the warehouses picking more item and more case instead of picking more pallets. And what's the result of this one? Items and case picking are most time and labor consuming part of the warehouse operations. You are well aware of that. The, let's say, labor and cost consumption of the warehouse are coming from nearly 50% from the, let's say, order picking. And because of that reason, and there is another part that is mentioned in earlier sessions, the retail e-commerce, it's increasing. Currently, it is 10% of the total retail sales of the, let's say, other countries. I mean, the whole number is, let's say, 110% is the, let's say, retail e-commerce. And it will be, according to the estimations, it will be 16% by e-marketer. Now, when we look at the technologies that are used currently in the warehouse, there are some robotics technologies. And those technologies are coming from the requirements of the retailers also. Because they are asking today, next day deliveries. And besides that, they ask 15 minutes click to ship cycle. And it's not possible without using robots in the warehouse. Other than this, they ask mixed case palletizing, for example, or store-friendly sequencing. That means you have to build the pallet depending on the layout of the retail store, but in reverse order, so that they consume less time when they, let's say, replenish their items in the store, retail store. There are currently 2 types of mainly robots that are used in the warehouses. Those are some primitive robots. Some of them are called collaborative robots. And actually, they are some motorized platforms, and they have some shelves and a touch screen. They follow the order picking personnel, and they help them. The cost is around $30,000 to $40,000 US. Another solution, you watched in the video, the solution that is developed to be used in fulfillment centers. Those are, for example, Amazon's Kiva robots. And Kiva system was another company. It's bought by Amazon in 2012. By using those robots, Amazon can cut the turnaround time from 60 to 75 minutes to 15 minutes. That is asked by retailers. And they cut the cost 20%. Actually, they had 30,000 of those robots last year, and this year the number increased to 45,000 in their fulfillment centers. When they those robots in all of their fulfillment centers, it's estimated that they can save $2.5 billion in a year. Another current technology is the big data. Actually, big data is coming from internet. There is a huge amount of data produced by internet that it's not possible by using the traditional methods, traditional software, to get conclusions, to process or analyze those data, and then get the necessary information from those data. And because of that reason, they invented the big data. Big data allows analysis and process of the important data from the less important. And usually, when you get data from the, let's say, internet, from transaction systems, most of the data is not useful. Nearly 90 or 95% of data is useless. And the rest is important. But differentiating the important from the less important is not an easy task. And when you get this information, you can have the conclusions to carry out your business objectives. There is a tool which is developed by DHL. And yesterday I was expecting that DHL presenter here talk about this one, but it didn't mention because there are many, let's say, different, type of products exist in DHL. Now, DHL implemented Resilience 360. This is a big data system, and it uses all of the data within the company, and it can help you to manage the risks in the supply chain. Another issue is the IT. According to the PRG survey in 2015, IT spendings in warehouses increased 5% within 4 years. And there is a steady increase. That means we can expect that there will be more increase in the future for the IT tools, IT, let's say, equipment, etc. And there's a problem here I want to mention because of that reason. Now, it's not easy to find and keep the best IT people around the world. This is a problem of all of the countries. And there is a growing need of IT in the warehouse also. And there's a bottleneck here. How can we find the best IT people to work in the warehouse? Because according to the surveys, it's known that working in the warehouse is not an attractive job for young generation, for Z generation. They don't like to work in a warehouse. So it will cause a problem. And another issue is the use of RFID. Now, you all know RFID. I will not describe the RFID because it has some advantages like simultaneous reading of multiple tags or not need of, let's say, line of sight to, let's say, scan the items. When we use barcodes, we have the same problem. And then, or we can keep more information than barcode in RFIDs, etc. But I want just to talk about the, let's say, developments in the field. There are some tools. By using RFID tags, you can have the count of the items in the warehouse within minutes without having workers walking around and scan the tags, etc. They put the antennas on the top of the, on the ceiling of the warehouse, and they can read all of the, let's say, items within several minutes. If you don't use those systems, you will regularly check your items in the warehouse by using workers and RFID or, let's say, barcode scanners, etc. And it will take more time. There are some tools like that newly developed. Now, other than this, we have to talk for the future solutions. In a short time, I will just touch the, let's say, items. Now, one of them is the single item picker robots. The most difficult challenge today is to teach to a robot how to select a single item in the warehouse, like a t-shirt, like a toy, like a bottle, or like a shampoo. Okay? And then now we are at this point due to the advances in artificial intelligence, but it will not be enough. Other than this, we should have the 3D rendered object models for all of items so that we can teach the robots how to handle every items. And that's not an easy task because you have to create some huge databases for all of the items. There are several teams who are working on this issue. I can give you an example from United States. In the University of California at Berkeley, Professor Ken Goldberg is working on this issue, and they have, let's say, millions of attempts to pick 10,000 items. In the picture in the left upper corner of the pictures, you see their lab operations. And then there is another project in European Union. It's funded by European Union. It's called SOMA project, Soft Manipulation Project. They want to design a robotic hand. But the difference from the previous one, in this case, the robots don't have too much knowledge about the object. And they want to create some robotic arms for using in grocery warehouses. When they finish all of the, let's say, projects, they will create a database for the items and they will use them in automation systems freely. They will have open database for them. Another issue is the swarming. I don't know if you have any knowledge about swarming, but swarming means multiple robots are working together for a common task. That means you have many robots instead of several. And for example, they can pick a 50-item order list in a warehouse within minutes because they are working all together. And we all know the drones also, but I will not explain the drones, but just several cases that how can we use in drones in the warehouse. In one of them, let's think about giant yards with several hundreds of trailers. A drone can have RFID scanner on it, and it can read the tags placed on the sides of the trailers to read the tags and to get information about the content of the trailers. And the contrary, what is the traditional method? You have some workers, and they have some RFID scanners on their hands, and they visit all of the trailers, and they are moving around, and they want to learn the content. This is an example of how to use the drones in the warehouse. Another issue, you can have, again, within the warehouse, manually controlled drones to, let's say, scan the pallets put on the higher ranks instead of sending some people or elevating some people to higher ranks. The drone can read the tags, scan the tags, and then you can have the count also. The other issue is the Internet of Things. Now, it's a huge subject, actually, but I will just briefly talk about this one because now there are some more details. But the Internet of Things simply is the idea that all of the equipment, gadgets, appliances, or everything should be connected to Internet. And even Internet of Things can, let's say, see humans, animals, atmospheric phenomena, or everything as variable. Now, I will touch this subject later on, but when you get this knowledge from the objects, you can make good decisions because you don't know just the location of the, let's say, items, but you know at the same time the condition of the items also, that you have connected internet. And the last thing for emergent technologies, I'm sure that you know this Industry 4.0. Actually, it started by Germany in 2011. And according to this, let's say, development, Industry 4.0 will use some models, product models. But those models can be formed according to the requirement of the customer. That means it will be customized. Each model should be customized by each customer. And then in smart factories that are behaving autonomously, those products will be produced according to the demand of the customer, but personalized in a mass fashion, as we did in the future, or we are doing right now, mass production. But this time, each product will be suitable to the requirement of the customers. But those smart factories will also use some inputs, and if logistics will not provide them necessary inputs, they cannot function, as you may guess. Now, those are several titles that I want to mention, some of the developments, emerging technologies that I have to talk, but at the end, I have the quotes of Will Whitehorn, who is the, let's say, the president of CALT. He says that, for the warehouses, he says that autonomy has been a feature of the biggest logistic warehouses. That means in the future, I don't know the time or date, maybe 10 years later, but the future is autonomy. Now, autonomy is important, and they are working on this subject. Autonomous robots, autonomous drones, autonomous factories, autonomous warehouses, they are working on this. It's maybe a far future, but for the near future, I have some conclusions from Gwen Richards, who is the author of the warehouse management, well-known author of the warehouse management. He says that when we produce the goods in smart factories, we'll transport them to the collaborative warehouses to lower the costs. And from the collaborative warehouse, we will use collaborative transport to carry them to the warehouse near the cities. And in those cities, the warehouse will act as hubs, and we will distribute by cross-docking those goods from the, let's say, warehouse near the cities, and then we will distribute to their final addresses. Now, current trend is consolidation of the warehouses. But in the future, because of the demand of the customers to shorten the lead time, there will be a need of, and at the same time, fuel prices will be high. And because of that reason, there will be some local warehouses also. That means they will both live together in the future. And in all of the warehouses, there will be sensors. And those sensors will provide data for uninterrupted transfer of data. We will use those sensors everywhere in the warehouse. Other than this, there will be robots, that's for sure. And those robots will not move, as we saw in the movie, horizontally, but they will move vertically also, so that they can use the volume, the cube of the warehouse. And because of the robots, we will have standard pallets and standard cases, packs. Now, today, we know there are some US pallets, Europe pallets, UK pallets, etc. There are some different types of pallets. But for use of the robots, we will require them to be simplified and standardized in the future. And there will be some other, let's say, softwares like you see ERPs, WMS, etc., RFIDs. Another issue here is the, let's say, the content of the workforce. There will be more IT people in the warehouse in the future, and engineers for some problems. Less workers that we use today will be in the future, and their task will be, for example, gift wrapping, or kitting or some other manual operations. And the location of the warehouses will be near ports, and they should be connected to the rail if possible. And they will have in the roof some solar panels or some wind turbines in the yard to produce their energy in the future. And now, do you have any idea about those pictures? Did you see them before? Actually, they are patents filed by Amazon in 2014. Now, they are Amazon's airborne fulfillment centers. Those airborne fulfillment centers are moving by airships that you see here, like Zeppelin that we know before. And they will provide the goods to the crowded area of the cities. When there is an event, when a crowd, then they will serve to the customers from those, let's say, AFCs. And those AFCs will have a platform you see in the right, let's say, figure. Actually, those are patents. And in the right picture, you see some platforms, and they will have some goods over there, some fuels, some workers, and there will be some shuttle service. I mean, when the goods are decreased in the, let's say, AFCs, they will bring some, let's say, items, some fuels, some people, workers, to and from the, let's say, AFCs. They will have their own drones, and those drones can be up high to 14 kilometers. And they will serve the items to the sporting arenas or music festival arenas, other crowded sites, because there is a limited access to those sites, but there is high demand when the activity takes place. And another one, now this is also another patent that is filed by Amazon. And those are underwater warehouses. Now, they are using, Amazon is trying to use the lakes, reservoirs, or let's say purpose-built pools as warehouses. They will put the goods inside the warehouse, they will put the package inside the warehouse, either by parachutes or by trucks. In the second picture, in the first picture, sorry, you see that there are some, let's say, conveyors, and they can put the goods inside the, let's say, warehouse. And then the packages will be watertight, and they will fit with an air canister. And then when the item is ordered by customer, there will be a sound inside the water so that it triggers to air canister to inflate the balloon. And then the balloon will, let's say, float, will go upward, and then the item will float on the surface. Either a team from the company or a drone, an autonomous drone, maybe in the future, will take the goods and deliver to the customer. Yeah, those are some of the let's say. Now, is it possible? Yes, it can be possible. The preview is also possible, but when they get some autonomously flying drones. That's the key point. And because of that reason, autonomy is the future, according to, let's say, CLT president. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ding, for this interesting presentation about the impact of IT technologies in warehouses. And I do believe that the topic is very interesting, and we have a lot of details to be discussed, but there's no time really to explore this. Hopefully we'll be able to handle the missing points in the discussion panel at the end. We have the second presentation is very important, I do believe, as Dr. Ding talk about the big data and the IoT, Internet of Things, and RFID, and a lot of technologies, robots. All those things have impact in what we can call it e-commerce. And this will be the title of the coming presentation with Ms. Subai. Could you please come to stage and deliver it?
Assalamu alaikum. So I chose to speak about e-commerce, although the topic is warehousing. And the idea is to translate from e-commerce and the warehousing and see the relationship of how things will develop, I think, in the future. So just a few announcements, just speaking of retailers in general. American Eagle is closing 150 stores. Crocs is also, having some revenue drops and they're losing some money. Guess announced 60 stores to be closed. Michael Kors is suffering. Personally, my favorite, because I have children, is I'm really sad to hear that Toys R Us has bankruptcy and there is a lot of possibilities of stores being closed. So this is, I think, concerning for, we are logistics people, but we also work with retailers, and a lot of people here are logistics belong to retail companies. The next slide is, I think, gives you a bigger picture of the magnitude of the effect of e-commerce that's happening on the economy. Like, it's a global economy. It's no longer a regional economy or something that's completely just for us in Saudi or the GCC. I think this is going to be reflecting the whole global economy. Brand names who've been there for a long time. I think Al-Nahdi was here. CVS is a pharmaceutical company. It's one of the biggest in the States. When they say they're going to close 70 stores, that's a concern. I think that's, we are behind in this region. I think Europe and Asia, like 4 to 8 years. So whatever trend is happening there will be happening here soon. Yani, depending how fast things move. For this is something that we have to pay attention to, retailers have to pay attention to, and this reflects to our business. So what does this translate to our business and our sector? The data that I have is this, but I think the concept is, regardless, usually the retail business, as they call them, the porter and brick and mortar business, want to expand. They have, example, I don't want to call names, but pharmacies in Saudi Arabia, some of them have 800 pharmacies, and they're aiming to get to 1,000 and 1,200, and they have plans up to 220 to get to 2,000, whatever. This is, I know some of them, but now there is a halt and there is a change. So I think the idea should be, look around, see what's happening outside, and see how you can integrate this together. So the concept that I'm trying to send is basically this: the e-commerce is changing the concept of business, and storage is becoming storage, and also picking, which was mentioned a minute ago, picking items is the new challenge. Now, it's no longer a service, as some of my colleagues earlier in the day mentioned. It's no longer a service or part of the company. Now, no, you're a major player in the company. It's no longer, as Dr. Craig from University of Yambu mentioned, it's no longer part of the business. I think it's a key player now of how to save money and how to be a regional, power in your sector. Economic trends, as I said, it's growing all over the place. Yesterday or 2 days ago, numbers are interesting in this sector. Alibaba announced that they sold in 1 day, and it's a new day. They invented a new day. We heard of Black Friday and all these days. We already have Valentine's and people selling it. Now they called it Singles Day. Singles Day, and they sold $25 billion worth of products in 1 day. That's a record. No platform has ever sold 25 billion yet. So whatever percentages here, I think these are estimates by analysts, and I think they could be challenged, whether they're right or not. can go to the next slide here. In our region here, also I think we can see activity has been growing fast. The government itself has invested in the public investment fund has government investment fund has invested in Noon. We already have Amazon taking over Souk.com, and mashallah, all the companies. I mean, they're popping up all over the place. So this is a sector that we really have to pay attention to, and this is where we, as logistics people, have to adapt to enable our companies or our sector to be, to be the major part that it will be, whether we like it or not. The floating warehouse or the floating distribution center that Dr. Kiran just showed is an interesting concept. I don't believe in everything that was going to happen, but the guy said it's actually starting. I'm amazed, صراحة. I don't really know what's gonna happen. I wanted to share a particular slide. Let's see here. Yeah. We have a slide saying that Noon, one of these companies here, already has 20 million items. So you can imagine the picking of 20 million items. And luckily for ourselves, I think our country is, whether, like yesterday, the Ministry of Transportation and also the Ministry of, General Authority of هيئة الجمارك, مصلحة الجمارك. They said, we are, so there is something that you're seeing, and there is stuff that we're doing long term. One of the things that we see is that our country is already taking steps to be in the e-commerce business, and they're preparing us. So they moved all the Saudi posts from the regional city, Riyadh, from center of Riyadh to the airport, from center of Dammam to the airport. And Jeddah is following, Jeddah is still developing. So this tells you that the country is preparing to be dynamic in e-commerce. Our own post is moving to the airport. So you have to understand that the company is moving toward this sector. So this is something that we have to also pay attention to. This is our only thing that to talk about our company. We also have invested in preparing to this sector, and we are developing a warehousing hub for companies to come in and participate. The warehousing facility that we have is 500,000 meters. There are for all the major carriers, DHL, FedEx, all of them already have facilities there. And also there is another bonded company that's being operated by one of the local players also down there. It's nice to see some local companies are also preparing. When Mr. Mohammed Al-Aqil from Jarir says that e-commerce has contributed to Jarir for about 100 million of the revenues. It's nice to know, because as the example showed before, Radio Shack doesn't exist. And I'll take you to, speaking of Jarir specifically, there is a movie that plays a lot on NBC. They play it, I think, once every month, which is You Got Mail. I think you've seen it all. And We Got Mail, what happened is small business, mom and dad shop, was closed because of big stores, which is Barnes & Nobles and all these companies. Now, Barnes & Nobles is bankrupt and they're closed. And Amazon is taking place of that. So just something to show you how we have to be prepared and not to be left behind yet. So this is something that we really have to emphasize on, and I really admire them. I know Extra is moving into the sector and trying to establish a footprint in it. I don't believe, at least currently what we see right now, that we will be completely an e-commerce economy in this region, but I think we have to be prepared and we have to have something ready in that sector. These are some of the sources that we got, and this is my short presentation. I hope that I highlighted some points. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sabai, for this interesting presentation. Just to shed light on this, and be prepared to ask questions about e-commerce at the end here. Within the warehouse, we have a lot of technologies, as seen in the previous presentations, and techniques and tools and approaches that can be applied to increase the effectiveness of these warehouses in meeting customer requirements. One of these solutions is very simple, but quite effective in achieving the goals, is cross-docking. We have with us engineer Ibrahim will be presenting the coming 3 slides about this to tell us what about the cross-docking, how to be implemented, and what are the future hidden issues to be discovered here. Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Attention, please. The next 5 minutes will be fast because we will be talking about being fast in our logistics operation. How many of us know what is cross-docking? Excellent. A few doesn't know, we can tell them it's about keeping the material moving. Instead of receiving it and storing it, we're receiving it and shipping it for pre-orders. And that's how the concept developed at the beginning. To do what? To save on storage cost, to save on labor cost. But was that the only benefit that we had from cross-docking? Of course not. For eager businessmen who doesn't like to see their money static or is not moving, we're not doing any assets. We're reducing capital, working capital by doing cross-docking. And in addition to that, some of authorities like air aviation used the same concept to do a certification or a testing before arrival of the airport. If you're traveling to USA through London Heathrow, your luggage will be cross-docked in London Heathrow. Will be checked there and it will not be checked in USA. Because of the traffic, because of capabilities of London Heathrow is better than Miami Airport, for example. Some of our local flying agents, Saudi Airlines, you can cross-dock your luggages from Eastern Ring Road and you find your luggages in the airplane with you. So, not only for saving on labor cost, also to reduce working capital and also to do accreditation or certification or testing to the metals, to the material that we're moving. If we got very excited, I don't want to see my money static and I will start do cross-docking activities tomorrow in my facilities. No, I will say slow down a little bit. It's a little bit tricky. There is some prerequisites to make sure that this happens. At the beginning, I will say that we will need a clear and systematic ASN, Advanced Shipping Notice. Any truck ship coming to your facility, to your port, to your storage, need to have a very detailed backing list about what's in it. And we need a systematic pre-allocation for those material. Usually we do cross-dock for breaking bulk or for consolidating. So if I need my system to be able to pre-allocate. Before I receive this bottle of water, I need to know it's in the bottle, I need to know it's in the truck, and I need to know the client that's interested in, and do all documentation while the material is in the way. Of course, all this will need a very tight and detailed scheduling for the transport mode. Whether we're cross-docking from ships to trucks or from trucks to another trucks, we need a detailed schedule. I cannot park a truck for 2 days waiting for a ship that is late in the way. So detailed and tight schedule are crucially required to be able to apply such concept. If you want to do this, a little advice, let's start with a pilot project. Be prepared for contingencies by having a small stock, and then create proper SOP and control measures, and we'll be good to go. As I told you, it will be very fast. So how would we think cross-docking will look like in 5 to 10 years from now in the developing of the platform, Mubadala, that we heard about yesterday, what's happening in Amazon and Alibaba? I think that cross-docking will evolve to not only from moving material from receiving dock to shipping dock. We will reach a point where collaboration between platforms will happen, and I will only move the ownership of the material. In other words, I have two logistics companies in Saudi Arabia, supplier X, customer Y. Y bought from X, there will be no movement from warehouse to warehouse or no movement of cross-dock. Only the ownership in the 3PL facility moved from the supplier X to customer Y. I am the 3PL. I stored this bottle of water for 2 weeks for the supplier Al-Hada. Mr. Abdulaziz bought it. It will not move. I will cross-dock it electronically by only moving the ownership to Mr. Abdulaziz, and he will move it only on consumption time. If you want me to elaborate a little bit more, if we imagine this chain, if you imagine this chain, we will have 7 material movement. It's not coming back. We will have 7 material movement or 13 or 14 material movement. If we were able to develop good platforms, half of these can be eliminated and turned electronic movement of ownership. And the other half could be physical cross-docking. But it's about being fast. It's about allowing Alibaba to deliver in Saudi Arabia in 48 hours. It's all about technology. As supply chain developed through replacing physical movement with information, I think any activity within the supply chain will develop in the same manner. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Engineer Arafat, for this very interesting presentation. And direct to the point about cross-docking. I have to move more fast, actually. Can you give me the... yes. Yes. I will go to the next. Why with me it's not working always? Yes. Okay, I'll move to the last session we have it here. It's discussion panel, and we'll be having a few questions to present it to the speakers. Before that, we have one of the presenters, Mr. Naif Al-Utaybi, is not here, and he's supposed to speak about the role of warehouse in a supply chain. A reflection on that, we look to warehouse as a facility. We can use it to achieve efficiency or responsiveness. So we have one warehouse to serve all the customers. We can achieve efficiency by consolidating all the inventory in one place. Or if we want to achieve responsiveness, we will distribute the warehouses to be more close to the customer to achieve high responsiveness to the customer. Based on this, we can ask questions about the role of warehouse in supply chain. I will be having the first question here. I would direct this question to Dr. Ding. You spoke about the IT technologies in supply chain management, and you talk about the RFID, you talk about the Industry 4, you talk about robotics, the impact of all things in supply chain, in warehouse productivity, and the flow of the products from receiving, storing, and delivering to the customer. You have mentioned briefly about the WMS, Warehouse Management System. But I want just to bring the discussions, you know, instead of talking about far future, to bring it to our region, what we currently practice, the way we manage warehouses. So warehouse management system is more clear for all the people. Can you reflect more on this, please?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, yeah, that's true. Now, from the previous sessions, we learned that data is important in the warehouse or in other supply chain operations. And in the warehouse, the main source of the getting data is using some software. I mean, you may have some, let's say, barcodes or RFID tags or other things in the warehouse, but they cannot supply the data if you don't have any software that you can use in the warehouse. And because of that reason, yeah, this step is the initial step, using a warehouse management system. As you mentioned about the activities in the warehouse, they are clear and standard. You receive the goods, you, let's say, check, control, weight, other features, and then you put away the goods, you replenish the goods, and then pick the goods, collate, marshal, and finally distribute the goods. Those are standard activities, and those activities are done by the guide of a warehouse management system. And because of that reason, it's important. The warehouse management system should provide some other features like optimizing the operations, a little bit intelligent way. If you have some zones in the warehouse, for example, if you have some urgent, let's say, order picking operations, other things, it should guide you like parallel picking, like, let's say, routing the, let's say, order pickers. It may provide such opportunities also. And there are many types of warehouse management system. You should have a survey and then find the best fitting to your requirements, because there are some, let's say, lower level warehouse management system, middle and upper levels, and their prices are changing also, and they should fit to your requirements.
I have a second question. I would direct it to gentleman here sitting in the middle, Mr. Subai'i. He talked about e-commerce, and he mentioned that Amazon acquired Souk.com. And this is very amazing that Souk.com is evolved and developed here locally by local leaders and managers here, and acquired by Amazon. And that gives indication that e-commerce is very critical. You as young businessman, okay, in light of the evolution of e-commerce, what do you advise the businessmen to take into consideration when they want to start business? Because some people actually think business is very simple. Building warehouse, have agreement, and then business will be running fine. So what kind of critical things that you want to draw attention of the people or the young businessmen on it, specifically in few minutes, please?
So I don't want to really give advice in the sense of advice. I think I can only share experience, because different companies have different, markets and sectors and targets. I cannot come here and be the Wizard of Oz and كذا ولا أصير جوجل وأجاوب حق الناس كلها. It's very difficult. But I think what you can do is share experience. This is what happened to me. This is what I see. In my opinion, things are changing. We have to be very cautious. Everybody in his own sector, whether it's small companies or bigger companies, pay attention. Bigger companies, I think the collapse is even harder. And you invested hundreds of millions. For young Saudis, it's also, there is no, I cannot say it's less painful, but at least it's, the number is smaller. Okay? The only thing I would say is pay attention to trends, pay attention to what's going on in the sector, and parallel events that's happening in other related. For example, Talabat.com, now you have Hunger Station, you have all these companies. So pay attention what differentiates and so on. في electronics, في garments. Now we have Jolly Chic, and we have Nemshi, and we have all these guys. So pay attention to what in your sector and see what's the best practices, and try your best to get advantage. And really, some of it is not just for the sake of going in e-commerce and كذا. It has to be something that has value, and your investment in money has to be worth it. That's my points here.
I would like to direct it to Engineer Arafat. We have seen that cross-docking is a very simple concept, but have tremendous impact in the way we can manage logistics. This question will be a little bit amazing. How you can connect this simple approach with Saudi vision, because we know that on the background of this, that in the 2030 vision of Saudi Arabia and the location of Saudi Arabia as a middle of three continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa, how we can use cross-docking to connect with the vision here and support it and increase the chances of success.
Thank you for the question. We all know that our vision to become the distribution country of the three continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa. If we want to master this and compete with our neighbors and our competitors in the region, we need to master cross-docking. What I mean, that any trader coming from Europe sending to China or the opposite, he would not love his material to stop anywhere, not in the kingdom, not in any other country. So it's related by mastering this on mass scale, by developing our port to be a huge cross-docking facilities, which will add value to all traders, to all manufacturers. Sometimes if I'm allowed to dream a little bit more, we can do value-added services in the kingdom on the move, on the trains, on the trucks, I think and I believe if we want to compete and be the distribution center of the region, we need to master this in a mass scale, where we connect different modes of transport, connecting east with west, through cross-docking activities only and store nothing.
The coming question here, back to Dr. Dink. I have to go very fast. And please, this coming question is supposed to be in seconds, answer in seconds, not in minutes, actually. We mentioned about ERP. Everybody here know about ERP systems and the impact of ERP systems, and that touch every function in the business, in procurement, warehousing, inventory, manufacturing, planning, sales distribution, HR, finance, IT, everywhere ERP is covering and touching all the functions. Can you tell me more how we can use ERP system here within the warehouse, and also you can mention something about the impact on the overall supply chain? Yes.
Yes, ERP has many features. Maybe in a largest one like SAP or so, you can have let's say more than 100 modules. So when you include more modules, you are not, let's say,
only for these activities. I will implement it for the whole facility or for the whole factory and warehouse if there is a factory. Only then RFID is needed. RFID is justified or feasible. But to develop RFID for a cross-docking facility only, unless you're cross-docking thousands of parcels, I don't think it will be feasible.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I cannot take many questions. I will only give one chance for the luckiest person here in the conference to direct a question in e-commerce to Mr. Subay. Only one question, and then we end the session. Who have any question in e-commerce? Yeah, okay. So, sorry, I have to conclude this one. I would like to thank the organizers of this session, and thank you for giving this opportunity to speak about the future warehouses. And as I mentioned in the beginning, that the topic is very condensed and I have a lot of details to cover, but because of the limitation of time, we cannot do more than that. And I hope that in the future we'll be having more chance to reflect more on the future of warehouses as a silent mode of transport. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you the best for the second. Thank you.
شكرا سعادة الأستاذ عبد القادر مصطفى، مستشار أعمال وخبير في سلسلة الإمداد، وقد أدرت الجلسة الثالثة لهذا اليوم محورها حول المستودعات المستقبلية، النقل الصامت في سلسلة الإمداد. شكرا لكل السادة المتحدثين.
راسه هي العامل في تطوير الشخص وصقل مواهبه.
كان شوي سؤالي أقرب، لأنه هل إذا أجت بغض النظر عن الجامعات خارجية أو داخلية، هل يكمل مشواره مباشرة أو تفضل إنه يدخل ويشوف السوق؟ يعني أنت درست بكالوريوس، أخذت الماجستير وجيت، هل لو يرجع فيك الزمن تشتغل وبعدين تطلع الماجستير؟
طبعا هذا من الأخطاء الاستراتيجية اللي ارتكبتها، مني عقبت البكالوريوس والماجستير. طبعا اللي زملائي اللي كانوا عندي بعضهم 5 و15 و20 سنة، فكانوا يتكلموا الكونسبت والمبادئ واضحة. بالنسبة لي كنت آخذ جهد أكثر منهم بكثير، فكنت أضطر يعني إني أجلس في المكتب أحيانا ل 11 و12 1 بالليل. لأني إيش؟ لأن ما أخذت خبرة عملية في كبير. فأعتقد أفضل مرحلة دراسة الماجستير إنك تأخذ على الأقل 5 سنوات خبرة في المجال اللي حابب تكمل فيه. ممكن أصلا بعد 5 سنوات تبطل عن دراسة، إنك تشوف لك شغف آخر غير اللي اخترته.
فنصيحة إنهم قبل قرارهم يكملوا، خصوصاً هم أصلاً أخذوا بكالوريوس أول، فبكالوريوس أو شهادة ثانية ويتوجه للماجستير قد لا تكون، وخصوصاً إنه في طلب. ونرجع نربطها برضو في المخرجات، كون مخرجات التعليم الخارجي خلينا نحكي لأنه هو الأكثر لا تلائم. احنا هنا يعني نرفع القبعة ورسالة شكر للإخوان في جامعة كلية ينبع الجامعية على اطلاع على برامجهم، بل بالعكس على تواصل قوي احنا معاهم، لأنه هدول الخريجين يتوجهوا للعمل قبل ما يتخرجوا أصلاً. وإحنا استقطبنا بعض الطلاب من طلاب الخريجين لإلهم وراحوا للفيلد للعمل قبل التخرج أصلاً فيهم. كان عندهم أول دفعة 12 شخص وما شاء الله يعني أصبحوا مبدعين لأنهم أخذوا. ولكن نطلب المزيد، إحنا ما بدنا تدريب 3 أشهر ولا تدريب 4 أشهر. إحنا إذا حتى نص الدراسة أخذها في التدريب واستفاد في ال4 سنين، بتخيل بيكون الموضوع أفضل. عمار، وين رايحين إحنا؟ وين مستقبل سلاسل الإمداد بشكل عام؟
سلاسل الإمداد تخصص ديناميكي، يعني من أكثر التخصصات اللي فيها تغيرات تطورات سريعة، يعني أسرع من إنك تلحق بها. يعني أنا أحيانا أتوقف ما أقرأ 2 3 أتفاجأ بالتغييرات اللي صارت. في اندماج في شركات قاعد يصير، شركات الشحن، شركات قاعد توقف، بزنس قاعد يروح كبره ويدخل معاه. بس التوجه الآن استثمار في الآي تي انفراستراكشر. يعني خلينا نتكلم اليوم تطبيقات مثل تطبيق هانجر ستيشنز ولا تطبيق كريم، تطبيقات بدأت بسيطة والآن تسوى لها ملايين الدولارات، هي مبنية على السبلاي تشين كونسبت بحذافيرها. احنا طبعا كمستخدمين نشوف تطبيق وخلاص واطلب تجي، ولكن البنية اللوجستية حقتها مبنية تماما على السبلاي تشين. فما أقول أن كل شركة صغيرة أو كبيرة تعال وجيب لك أفخم وآخر آي تي سولوشن موجود، ولكن وفر لك تقنية معلومات تواكب العصر وترفع كفاءتك وتقلل تخسير وتقلل خسائرك.
هذا يعني إذا لم نتغير سنفنى اليوم، يعني إذا في شركة ما بدها تتمشي مع هالترند اليوم راح تواجه مشكلة بعد سنوات.
في مقولة في السبلاي تشين يقول competition not anymore between companies, competition between supply chain. المنافسة اليوم ليست بين شركة ألف وباء، بين السلاسل الإمداد كاملة، شبكة التوريد والتوزيع والنقل. فالشركة الرابحة الشركة اللي عملت على تحقيق التكامل الداخلي بالأول، بعدين تكامل مع شبكة موردينها وشبكة عملائها، وفرت برنامج تقنية المعلومات اللي ساعدها على مواكبة التغيرات السريعة جدا وجدا وجدا. يعني اليوم أمس أخونا صالح الشبلان أشار، احنا كمواطنين صرنا ما نلحق التغييرات اللي تصير في الحكومة، تغييرات كبيرة، يعني 6 7 تغييرات تصير في أقل من يوم واحد. فهذه التغييرات تحتاج منا الكثير والكثير. السبلاي تشين مانجمنت أعتقد مزاوجة مع تشينج مانجمنت وإدارة التغيير راح يكون عنصر كبير في استقرار الشركات.
اسمحوا لي تطبيقا كوننا شباب واعدين نتكلم عن السبلاي تشين، نلتزم بالوقت وأون تايم كل شيء يكون عنا، نختم فيها في جمل بسيطة من كل واحد. طلابنا ايش رسالتك باختصار لمين، وايش رسالتك؟ أنا بالنسبة لي أسألك للشباب السعوديين، وده في رسالة لأحد آخر.
رسالة إلى الشباب والشابات السعوديين أنهم يبحثوا عن ويقرأوا عن موضوع السبلاي تشين واللوجستيات. ممكن يطلعوا بفكرة زي فكرة الكريم وغيرها من هذه التطبيقات. وختاما أتمنى أن هذه المؤتمرات تكون سنويا إن شاء الله.
رسالة توجهها للشباب السعودي بشكل خاص أو القطاع الخاص أو للأمة كلها، رسالة من شاب طالب.
نتكلم عن الشباب. يعني أدعو الشباب البحث نفس الشيء في مجال سلاسل الإمداد، والمحاولة في الدخول في هذا المجال، لأنه مجال مهم جدا في نهضة المملكة، ونتمنى الدعم واحتضان الطاقات البشرية لتنمية وتطوير هذا المجال.
عمار.
نتكلم عن سلاسل الامداد، وكثير يتكلموا عن بنية تحتية، ويتكلم عن وير هاوسز، ويتكلم عن اي تي انفراستراكشر، ولكن رأس المال البشري هو خير استثمار. هذا القطاع الخاص يستثمر في رأس المال البشري، وكذلك الشباب وشابات الوطن انهم يستثمروا على انفسهم. اذا لم يجدوا من يستثمر عليهم يستثمروا، وما في خسارة. اي ريال تدفع اليوم في تعليم نفسك او تطويرك او اخذ شهادة احترافية مهما كلف راح تجني ثمنه آجلا أم عاجلا، إذا ما في نفسك في أبنائك وذريتك.
شكرا. أختمها بكل بساطة. 3 من أكثر من 200 شخص نعرفهم بدأوا بدون جامعات، بدأوا بدون أي شيء، بدون توجيه، لكن الصدفة قادتهم إلى أنهم يدخلوا في هذا المجال بغض النظر عن السبب. أبدعوا، وعندنا قاعدة بيانات موجودة لهم، منهم من أصبح مدير مشروع أو مدير مشاريع في شركات كبرى، يدير أكثر من 300 شاحنة مع مخزن، مع تكاملية في اللوجستيات، وهو بدأ ما يسمى أنه خريج ثانوية، ولكن قادوا الموضوع. فهذه نموذج من شابين خلفهم أكثر من 200 شاب، قصص كلياتها موجودة هنا. 200 في 32 مليون مش مبينين، 200 في منطقة صغيرة زي الجبيل الشرقية كذا مش مبينين. احنا نطمح، أعلنوا الإخوان أنه السنة الجاية بشهر 11 في المؤتمر، نطمح أنه يكون في دفعة خريجين موجودة تملأ الساحة هذه بنفس التوجه، بنفس المقترحات اللي ذكرت هون. أتمنى لكم التوفيق، وإن شاء الله السنة الجاية تكونوا أنتم مكاني، والمتحدثين تجيبوهم أنتم وتختاروهم. وأخونا عمار شكرا لك ولجهودك اللي بنشوفها موجودة، وشكرا للشباب.
شكرا لك، الله يعطيكم الف عافيه، وشكرا لحضوركم.
شكرا لصبركم، شكرا لكم، ونتمنى لكم كل التوفيق، وشكرا لبقائكم معنا لهذا الوقت.